Hi there, my name is Kevin Chap, host of the upcoming PBS series Wild Foods. Since the dawn of time, humans have relied on nature for everything from food and comfort to health and inspiration. Nature truly has a lot to teach us, but many of us are forgetting this fact and are starting to spend more and more time inside. Well, I want to change that. So I'm starting this web series to bring you out on adventures to reconnect with your environment and hopefully learn something along the way. Today, I thought it'd be fun to go out and search my favorite wild medicinal, the chaga fungus. Chaga's scientific name is Inonotus obliquus, but it's more commonly referred to as the birch conch or clinker polypore. So it's a parasitic growth that most often occurs on the birch tree, but you can also find it sometimes on poplar or elm. Now, it has a long tradition in native cultures ranging from Eastern Europe and Asia all the way back to the Americas, and they believed it had healing properties. So it's been being used in traditional medicine for thousands of years. Chaga is easily identifiable by its black or dark brown exterior that looks cracked or charred, and the interior is yellow or yellowish tan and spongy when you first harvest it. So I'm going to be helping you locate, harvest, and then create a yummy treat from the chaga fungus called chaga hot chocolate, and it's something you can share with your entire family. You're going to need a few things for this hunt. You're going to want to bring along a hatchet or an axe to help separate the chaga mushroom when you locate it. I always throw in a knife just in case I find any other wild forageables. Always bring along a proper field guide and always consult it before harvesting or ingesting any wild food. Always pack some water, a little bit of food, and I throw in some gloves. And finally, bring along a light source just in case you wind up staying a little later than you had anticipated. So now go ahead and pack your bags and let's get out there.
Here in the Stony Brook Valley of central Vermont, we're in the heart of chaga country. Ranging as far south as the Carolinas and all the way through the Arctic Circle, chaga's natural habitat is colder climates, where temperatures in winter often drop below freezing. Vermont's loamy and fertile soil provides a perfect habitat for chaga's favorite host trees, the paper or yellow birch. Growing up in this area provided great opportunities to connect with the land, and many of my days were spent exploring the largely undisturbed forests and glens. We're heading out to a remote section of this area called the Chaga, a large tract of wildland known as a gore. The Appalachian Trail bisects this area, which is known to many thru hikers simply as solitude.
Well, on the search for chaga, we've actually come across a really interesting find. This is hemlock shelf or lacquer polypore. It's also often referred to as Vermont or northeastern reishi. Though it is in the Ganoderma family, it is not technically reishi mushroom. So this is called Ganoderma tsugae, whereas reishi would be referred to as Ganoderma lucidum. This has recorded use dating all the way back to 104 BCE and the Han Dynasty in China, where ancient healers went out to the Changbai Mountains and discovered this mysterious red mushroom that they brought back to Emperor Wu, who began using it for all sorts of purposes, everything from anti-aging to helping improve fertility. They also believed that it had antiviral and antibacterial properties and would even help treat and prevent cancer. It's no wonder he coined it the Lingxi mushroom, or the mushroom of immortality. So unfortunately, this is last year's crop, so we're going to come back in a couple of months and check on these mushrooms and see if there's been any new growth or if any of the other hemlock in this area have acquired any. But it's a great find. We're going to continue our search for our chaga fungus.
You may not always find what you're looking for, but that can be half the fun. Hiking itself is great exercise. It increases lung capacity, lean muscle mass, and cardiovascular strength. Being in nature also induces a sense of calm and peace. It's part of who we are. This practice is known as forest bathing. Remember, no time in the woods is wasted, and even if you don't find what you're looking for, you'll be better simply for the experience.
All right. Well, here we have a perfect example of chaga or birch conch. Remember, its favorite host is the birch tree, and we have really old yellow birch here, it looks like. So what the chaga does is it actually enters the tree through wounds in its bark, and it will begin feeding off of the nutrients that the tree absorbs through its root structure. So we're gonna go ahead and take out our trusty hatchet here. Now, when you're harvesting chaga, you wanna make sure that you don't damage the tree, but in this case, it doesn't really seem to matter since this tree only has about another year or two to live. But what will happen is the tree will fall over and begin to decompose, creating more nutrient-dense soil for other trees and actually some of its own offspring. So I see several young birch shoots coming up from this area. So as the parent tree dies away, the young shoots begin to flourish. You know, it was the Stoic philosopher Seneca that said, "Let us keep to the path which nature has mapped out for us, and let us not swerve therefrom. As long as we keep to nature, all is easy and unobstructed." Now, let's go ahead and harvest this chaga so we can bring it home and make our well-deserved treat. Now that we've been successful finding and harvesting some chaga, it's time for the fun part of the experiment, which is making the hot chocolate. You're going to need a couple of things for your cook. First is a mallet to break up the chaga into smaller, more usable chunks. You also need a strainer or a sieve. This is to fish out the larger chunks of chaga. You also need something to bring water to a boil. Now, a pot is just fine. I'm using a tea kettle here today. And finally, a secondary vessel that we can use to transfer the steeped chaga tea into once we're done. For those of you who have instant mix at home, this is a really easy way to make hot chocolate. Or for the more adventurous, we can use cocoa powder. I'm going to show you how to create chaga hot chocolate from scratch. So we have the chaga here that we just harvested, but I'm going to be using some already dried chaga that I harvested last year because it's a lot easier to work with. Now don't worry, if you don't have any dried chaga, you can go ahead and use the fresh chaga. It doesn't really make a difference. Again, just a lot easier to use dried. So what we'll do is we'll take this piece of chaga and we'll place it underneath a cloth. That's just to make sure that it doesn't go everywhere when we break it apart. But go ahead and give it a couple of smacks. And what you're left with is some broken up chunks of chaga. Now these are fine to just put directly into the water. So a couple of fun facts about chaga while we're waiting for our tea to boil. Chaga has a really high concentration of melanin. Now melanin is the stuff in your skin that gives it its complexion and blocks UV light. No wonder they've been using it in beauty care products for hundreds of years. Another fun fact is that chaga has super high concentrations of antioxidants. It has 1,200 times more antioxidants than blueberries, 80 times more than acai berries, and 45 times more than pomegranate. No wonder it's considered a superfood, and it's right here in our backyard. Finally, chaga has high concentrations of betulinic acid. This acid creates apoptosis in cancerous cells, and scientists have been using it in complement to other treatments for cancer. Apoptosis is the process of washing out cells and regenerating new ones. It's no wonder scientists are starting to experiment in complement to other types of cancer treatment. So let's go ahead and wait for this tea to boil, and then we'll get back to building our chaga hot chocolate. Our chaga tea has had time to steep and boil, so we're gonna go ahead and shut it off. Some folks may want to give it a couple of minutes just to cool off, but I'm gonna go ahead and transfer it right now. We're gonna use our strainer and actually pour the water, and we can see that a lot of the chunks are getting caught up in the strainer until we have our chaga tea. Now this is wonderful just by itself. You can add a little bit of maple syrup to this to sweeten it up, and you've got a great afternoon beverage. But we're gonna go ahead and make our hot chocolate now. So grab a couple of cups. First we'll take out one of our instant mixes, and this is a really easy way to do it. We'll simply add to the cup. Okay, and now we'll pour in our tea, and that will easily make a nice full cup of hot chocolate, go ahead and give it a little bit of a stir. You can always add 2 packets if you prefer it a little bit thicker. Now this is very hot. And that is brilliant, just like that. For you more adventuresome folk, we're gonna go ahead and make Chaga hot chocolate from scratch here, and you can use the water that's already here. So I'm gonna add several scoops of chocolate. Okay, then I'm gonna add our maple syrup, give it that sweetness, and don't be shy with that. And again, you can sweeten it to your own liking. And go ahead and add some milk. Now, I prefer almond milk, but regular milk is great, especially the high fat content will give you that really classic hot chocolate taste. So go ahead and add about a cup there. And there we go. That looks pretty terrific. Grab a spoon and go ahead and stir that all up. Okay, give it a good stir. And now, for the best part is the taste. Great, and that looks nice and dark and rich. Well, thanks so much for joining me on this adventure. It's been a blast. Look for more content coming out really soon from Polar Productions, and remember to like down below. Keep in mind that the best things are just outside your front door, so go and find them.